So Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chiloane will be visiting the Primrose Primary School in Germiston this morning. This comes after a 13-year-old pupil was taken into police custody for allegedly shooting the school principal on Friday. It's alleged that the incident happened after the boy was instructed by the principal to take out his books and study. The pupil was reportedly sitting in the foyer with other classmates. Teaching union Naptosa is calling for more to be done to protect teachers and pupils in schools. They're also questioning how the pupil was able to get into the school with a firearm. We're now joined by Naptosa Executive Director, Mr. Basil. Manuel. Basil, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this is definitely one of those stories that can leave you very well speechless when you see it, right? The idea of a 13-year-old shooting their school principal. Your initial thoughts, just hearing the story at the very beginning.
Naledi, thank you very much for having me. At first, I'm absolutely grateful that the principal survived, not only for his sake and his family's sake, which is extremely important, but for this youngster's sake too. Because it's a life-changing incident, and if a death was involved, it would be even more life-changing. So I'm grateful for everybody involved, but it is shocking. We are shocked. First of all, the lack of care with the firearm, that a firearm could be taken by a 13-year-old. Where's the owner of the gun? What happened there? That's what we have to question. And of course, also, it shows you how difficult life is in a school where it's impossible to police every child. You can't be searching every child. That's not the type of environment you want. But that this youngster felt so aggrieved by a simple instruction that this was the end of the incident is in itself tragic. We've got to do more to protect our teachers.
Yeah. Again, the instruction was take out your books and study, which is what we're there to do. I think what's even more worrying is this idea of a 13-year-old who is being held in police custody. And you've asked the question, who did the gun belong to? We've got the information that we've got at this point is that the gun may have belonged to a parent. Who should be held accountable for this incident?
Naledi, I don't want to speculate on things that the investigation will reveal, but we've got to look at how dangerous weapons that are in the custody of parents are then given access to children. Now, there's something seriously wrong with this, especially guns. And that a gun could be removed from a home, that says there is no control. And I'm feeling sorry for these parents too, because parents have a belief in their children. And I know that no parent would willfully give a child a gun. So there are many questions to be answered. But of course it goes to the whole issue of violence in the broader community. And the fact that there is a response to the first reaction to anything is a violent reaction. And this is where our biggest problem lies. Today, it's a principal being shot. Thankfully, he survived. But all the what-ifs, what if this was opened up on children in the school? What if, and we can carry on and on. And we've got to do something in our communities. Parents, first of all. We need our parents to stand up and take responsibility to ensure that their children are there to go and learn. And our teachers are terrified. Our teachers feel that they no longer have a voice to correct. And can you blame them when incidents like these start happening? But it is us working together. It's not only the parents. It's the parents, it's our police, it's our department, and it's us as teachers that have to work with parents. We've got to be talking to one another so that culture of trust is rebuilt, so that a parent is free to talk to teachers to say, I'm having a problem with my boy. I need you to watch out for him, to look after him a bit more. And if parents don't alert us, we actually don't know the underlying things that happen at home. We don't have teacher counselors. And that is where another gap exists, where children that are exhibiting problems aren't identified early.
Yeah, I wonder if, and I know one of the calls that you've made is for teachers to be better protected, as well as pupils. But talk to me about, as Naptosa, what you're hearing from some of your members around safety issues, particularly. I mean, we're seeing more and more stories, particularly in recent years, of violence in our schools. Are we dealing with educators that, for the most part, in some instances, are afraid for their lives?
Naledi, the stories are varied. And of course, as you would understand, it varies from area to area. And of course, there are many, many schools and some of the very difficult areas that are very safe. And we never have incidents there. And a handful of these pop out every now and again. But the stories are all the same. People don't speak up. We know about certain incidents, but I'm telling you, it's the tip of the iceberg. Because your average teacher feels very defeated, feels very trampled down when a child stands up to them and throttles them or shakes them or slaps them back. They don't even tell their peers at school. It is hidden very often. And this is part of the problem, because this teacher has to go back into the same class. So the stories we are hearing is that there is a culture of fear in certain schools.
So what do
it has to...
Apologies for stepping in. I suppose I want to get to the solution, right? So yes. For a teacher who's watching this morning, is getting ready to go step into the classroom and is hearing the story and understands that fear that you're talking about, what do they do?
Naledi, this is such a difficult one. I want to say to the Department of Education, I know how much they have tried to put into the theory around this, how we need to do better to work together, etc. But it is taking that theory and putting it into practice in communities that are falling apart themselves. That is where the problem lies. So there's no easy solution, but we can't give up trying to work together. And my appeal to principals and senior management teams at schools is talk to parents, call parents together, ensure that teachers know the children's parents. And that is the first step in getting this right. You can't do it by remote control.
Are we at the point where, depending what community you're in, and I'm even nervous to talk about some in particular communities, but are we at the point where we need to start searching learners as they enter the school premises? I mean, here we're talking about a primary school. Are we at the point where we're talking about searching primary school learners?
Naledi, that is the most shocking, is that this is a primary school where this incident happened. I would hate to think we are there where every learner must be searched. It is not the type of culture you want at a school. A school is supposed to be a safe space for the children especially, because we know how difficult circumstances are out there. And if you enter a school and the first thing you have is this very invasive action, which may become necessary, it doesn't breed that culture which we really want to see in every school. Yeah. Because if learners are safe, teachers are safe.
Yeah. And just lastly, how is Naptosa going to be engaging with this issue moving forward?
We continue to engage with teachers as a whole and with SMTs in particular about school safety projects. And one of our current projects is about school-related gender-based violence, which is another issue. I know this one is different, but there are so many issues of violence that we have to deal with. We constantly talk. We had a webinar now the other day with 3,000 people around violence in schools.
Yeah, well, we'll be watching, for some solutions, because the situation really is untenable. If you've got, stories of 13-year-olds being taken into police custody for allegedly shooting a principal, something needs to be done. This is a tragic situation. But thank you so much, Basil. We really do appreciate your time. Basil Manuel, of course, is Executive Director for Naptosa.